Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing yet another video talking about everything wrong with this garbage book, Almost Lost, by the late fraud Beatrice Sparks, published in 1996. This is like so far taking the cake for her absolute worst book. I mean, like Kim, Empty Inside, which I just wrapped up a series on. That's probably her worst journal form book, but this, like, out of all of her books I have read so far, I have not yet read Voices. So, like, this one seems to be taking the cake for the worst book overall. It's making me incandescent with rage as someone who has suffered with cyclical depression for a couple of decades now. Like, how dare she say, like, oh, you can easily cure your depression. Just sit under a hot lamp and have a pause, tude, and do the all caps, the positive power of positive thinking. Oh no, Sammy, are you giving back into your neg tude? I thought you had agreed to dump your whole gagging load of gagging garbage. You're not supposed to be wallowing in it. You're supposed to repress trauma and smile and keep sweet. Be a good little Peter Priesthood. So this is 30 More Things Wrong with the Book. It's based off of a blog post, which will go live on the 7th of March, 2025. So if you're watching this video before that day, consider this a sneak preview. And so anyway, let's just start getting down with it. Beatrice Sparks's 1996 book ranks right up there, or should I say right down there, as one of her most dangerous and irresponsible, demonstrating loud and clear what a disgusting fraud she was, like a shameless con artist, and how horribly out of touch with reality, like Mormon propagandist. Her total ignorance of serious mental health issues makes me angry beyond words. Oh, I do not mince words. I have a very, if you've watched a lot of my videos and you've heard me say it as well, I have a very, blunt, straight shooting, take no prisoners, working class way of speaking. I don't kitty foot around like, oh, this is nice, and I'm going to say nice things. I don't talk like a bourgeois person at all. I'm just tell it like it is in the very working class world way of speaking. So anyway, number 71, this is number and continuing from the previous video. How the hell many Dr. Fraud books use the goofy line? This really jumped out to me when I saw it. You can't keep birds from flying over your head, but you can keep them from making nests in your hair. Wow, that even was mentioned in Rick Emerson's expose, Unmask Alice. It's also been in It Happened to Nancy and Jay's journal, and probably some of her other books. I would definitely be on the lookout if I go back and masochistic enough to want to read them. I have never heard that phrase anywhere but in her crappy books. Where does it even come from? I'm going to assume it's a Mormon thing. It's not a common expression one might expect to find used by so many supposedly different people. A common phrase like, oh, it is better to have loved and lost than never loved at all. Or there's many a slip twixt the cup and the lip, or a common popular Shakespeare Bible quote or something like that. But who uses that phrase? I've never heard that anywhere but her dumb books. Number 72. It's impossible to completely stamp out all negativity, depression, and pessimism. Imagine that. Normal people. Let alone while those feelings are just barely gestating. Maybe you're not even aware of them. Sammy's like, oh, I'm going to stamp them all out like the eggs of a black widow spider. I'm going to be a good Peter Priest, and I'll never let negativity overtake me again. Depression is selfish and just terrible people. Oh, this is making me so angry. Normal people don't do the Mormon thing of unnaturally smiling and keeping sweet while repressing all feelings that aren't 100% happy clappy. She could not think outside of Mormonism. Number 73. Even in a supposed case study, yeah, right. Dr. Fraud can't resist having a character randomly using a long, advanced vocab word he admits he doesn't know the meaning or spelling of. This is just that also, totally stood out to me. Oh, wow, this is some stupid phrases again. Yep, I think this time for sure I've conquered the darkness demons through my own kind of positive, bright, white light therapy. Oh, first of all, my tude, in all caps. I now not only want to talk and listen, I want to pick your brains. What brains? Usually, and then she's talking about Prozac and all these other things. Your allegory comes in loud and clear to me, but I still think it's a bummer that being smart and trying to learn is allowed to bring on abuse in some schools. Actually, it was in mine to a degree before Dr. D. I remember lots of times I didn't do my best because I didn't want to be labeled computer head or booty brain. So many stupid things oh, wow, bullies do this because they have low self-esteem. Wow, I have No idea. I sure could have saved myself a lot of pain if I'd known back then how, here it comes, insidiously. A half smile crossed his face. That was a spelling word I missed twice and thought I'd never use it, but it fits exactly here. Anyway, cue the italics. I can't believe how quickly my self-esteem was replaced by self-hatred, which then took over every part of my body, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. He shuddered. Do you think it could happen to me again? Oh, and here's the it's scary, and I don't want to believe it, but I think it could. Cue the all caps. If I'd let it, which I won't. Uncue the caps. Never, never in my life again will I let negativity, or pessimism, or depression, or any of the other black destroying monsters of my past be in control of me. I'll recognize them and stamp them out like black widow spiders while they're still eggs, and while I'm still in control. Like, oh, you mean that I must learn to control depression and hostility, or they will control me? Absolutely true. I stand amazed by the simple, down-to-earth, awesome insight that teenagers often have. It's just, who the F talks like this? And it's just so stupid. And she's basically saying, oh, it's your fault if you're depressed. You're just not trying hard enough to stamp it out. Like, just don't be negative. Like the brain does not work that way. Fraudster. Number 74. Typical therapy sessions consist of discussing what's happening in your life now. Like, maybe some goals you have, like, concerns, like basically in the present for the most part. It's not like digging into all your dreams. That's, a stereotype from Freud's era. Oh, talking about your mommy issues, or just like, oh, I was like bullied in elementary school and it effed me up ever since. I mean, not that there can't be like a time and place for that, depending on what like the purpose of the therapy is, or like what you're trying to like discuss, or like the theme of that day's session or whatever. But in general, it's about your present, not long uninterrupted info dumpy monologues about your drug and gang life on the streets a few months ago. And then Sammy also tells a long story about how after he got out of the hospital, he like hitched a ride with like a PDF file in a truck and like escaped at a gas station. And then these people at the gas station found him and took him back to their trailer park and nursed him back to health. And then he came back to mommy, and that's when he came to Dr. Fraud's office in the morning, or afternoon, whenever he came to her, because, oh, mommy and sisters would be ashamed of me if they saw me like this. And now here I'm going to dump the whole like info dumpy past story about this other like terrible situation as well. Even if you're describing your past history when seeking, like, for example, an adult diagnosis of like autism, or like something, anything like that would necessarily involve describing like what happened in the past, the way you behave, to think, oh, does this fit with like, symptoms? I mean, of course, like you're not the same way you were in the past because you learned to like, mask or like pass for normal or whatever. You just learned like a different way of being, because like this was before they had like special ed and even knew what it was, for example. So yeah, like describing like the way you behave, that would make sense if you're trying to fit together with an adult diagnosis of certain conditions in the present. But yeah, that's still a back and forth. Instead of you talking almost nonstop, for example, the therapist might ask for like clarification on some points, or maybe I want a little more detail, or can you tell me about something that you didn't like maybe mention yet? Like, what was your relationship with like a teacher, or just anything like that? Not just like, oh, I'll just talk uninterrupted for like 30 minutes, an hour, like 6 total pages, like blah blah blah. It's reading like it is. She's definitely trying to make this into like a novel or something, because no case study is like this. You don't talk almost nonstop in the psychologist's office. Psychotherapy isn't the venue for spilling your entire life history in detail. That is a total myth, as I mentioned. Like many people, I'm not saying they're like ignorant, because that's a popular conception. If you're not in the field yourself, you've never been to a psychologist, they think, oh, it's all like it used to be back in Freud's day, like back in the 1920s. Like there are no other significant schools of like psychology or influential like psychotherapists who have come about since Freud. Like he is not the be all and end all of everything psychotherapy. But anyway, number 75. Some of these counseling sessions are phone conversations. Like, did she tap her phones in real life? Like what? Did Dr. Fraud truly believe psychotherapists not only record every in-person session with patients, which is like creepy as hell, but phone calls as well? What? That's so creepy and speaks volumes about how morgue bots disregard privacy. They really do not want people to have a life outside of the so-called church. Number 76. total ego trip to have Sammy constantly, immediately agreeing with everything Dr. Fraud says from his second session on. And I mentioned like related concepts to this in previous Everything Wrong with This Book videos, like, oh wow, that's totally amazing. Dr. B, tell me more about this. Oh, you're a magical font of wisdom. Wow, I had no idea I caused my own depression. Wow, the sun shines out of your ass. It reads like a psychology textbook. I also mentioned this prior. Instead of a real therapy session with a patient who pushes back and has his own ideas, like he's just way too like agreeing, like, yeah, this is cool, that's awesome, yeah, like, then why do you even need therapy, you idiot? Number 77, brains don't work in such a way we can control our heat of the moment reactions and how we behave in the middle of an ongoing situation. And I do understand, like, personal experience and reading about seeing it in other, people's situations. Yeah, there are times when you make, like, for example, like I unfortunately have like panic attacks sometimes. So when you like recognize you're having a panic attack, starting to have a panic attack, you're like, you were rerouted when you were like driving and you have no idea where you are. Like, how am I going to get back on the familiar road or even a place to, like, get around and turn off? Like, and okay, you can maybe learn some like coping mechanisms or like how to redirect yourself so you don't like have a total meltdown in the car, like a panic attack that's so severe you're, God forbid, going to have an accident or something like that. Or you see like a small like fire or something. Like, this did happen to me, like it was like September 2008. That's a long story for another video. But anyway, you're not going to like panic. I have, particularly because I have really severe, or I used to have very severe pyrophobia. You just, okay, I can't let this become a worse fire. Just like, go get the hose. This was like outside in the backyard, and like spray and spray and spray. Don't just like stand there like hyperventilating and panicking and let like the house just get past the grass and go onto the wooden deck and then catch the whole house like left homeless on the eve of Rosh Hashanah. But like, anyway, that's totally different than like, actual experiencing trauma, not just a specific, like a very certain event. You can learn redirection, coping mechanisms like in to keep you out, whatever. So like if you're like, jumped or something, or someone tries to like SA you, or actually does, SA you or something, or you just like an ongoing situation, like people are bullying you, or you're just having a really like, difficult time at work or something, you're whatever is going on with you, you can't just like control, oh, I'm going to be totally rational and in control of my emotions. That's not how trauma works at all. And our brains don't work like we can just control them at will just because, oh, we have a pause tude. Number 78. Why does Sammy need to keep coming to therapy, like I was just saying, if he agrees with everything Dr. Fraud spews? She should just give him some workbooks and tapes if he's so compliant with her way of thinking. And there are some stupid like worksheets and whatever throughout the book, like, oh, readers, you can do this on your own. Like, how many real teens, actually read this crap and enjoyed it? Like, judging by the terrible reviews from when it was like first came out in 96, I don't think any real teens were like buying this. Like, she learned a big lesson, went back to the fake diary format. Number 79. Dr. Fraud chastises Sammy for having nightmares all night, since you're supposed to be dumping out, not building up. Uh-oh, Sammy. I thought you had agreed to dump your whole gagging load of gagging garbage. Oh, horrible setback. Repressing trauma isn't healthy, like which she would have known if she wasn't so deeply entrenched in Mormonism. Number 80. How dare she suggest those of us who struggle with depression inflict negative thinking patterns on ourselves and could easily snap out of it if we only understood and complied with, cue the all caps, the positive power of positive thinking. And she says this over and over, and always had a pause too. Like, she was pushing 80 at the time this book came out, and she's, oh, I'm down with the kids. I'm using all the cool hip slang like pause tude and neg tude. Oh, I'm so fun and hip and cool. Sorry, not sorry. This a-hole was not the kind of cool old lady like other people have been. She was just an over the hill, like out of touch, ultra conservative, like crank. Who really thought she was fun, cool, hip therapist? She was only Dr. B in her own mind. Number 81. Dr. Fraud continues encouraging Sammy to repress any negative memories and says thinking about them is like a pig continuously wallowing in mud. I'm lost for words. This is so dangerous to say to people who actually have depression and trauma. Did she not understand life outside of the Morador, or that no one heals from trauma overnight? Like her characters are constantly, oh wow, I know I should stop thinking about it. Wow, that's great. It's been 24 hours and now I'm totally over almost being raped. Oh, well, how could I still be thinking about someone almost tried to rape me again? It's already been a week. Like, how could I still be thinking about this? I'm trying to smile and keep sweet and forget it ever happened. We're just gonna forget about that situation in all caps and just carry on like nothing happened. Number 82. What in blazes have Sammy's stories about life on the streets, or the like getting like dropped off after his hospital discharge, and like the whole gas station adventure and the couple nursing him back to home, how health and the trailer park. So what does all this have to do with depression? Like, I'm not seeing any connection. They're totally different issues, which just validates my feeling. She did not know what depression actually is. Like, where is he showing actual depressed symptoms? He has enough energy to like run away and join the gang and live rough on the streets. That's just not ringing true to like anything I know about depression. What? Number 83. Even an infamously incompetent hospital like Albany Med, sorry, I'm not the only person who's had really bad experiences with that hospital. St. Peter's is a far better hospital if you're in the Albany area. So like even a hospital like that doesn't just ignore an emergency patient who came in with gunshot wounds. Like, I'm lost for words yet again. They'll take that person to the ER instead of letting him languish on the floor by a side door, dumping him on a stretcher, like after ignoring him for a long time, and only very belatedly getting around to treating him. Like, what even was she trying to do with this whole story? They also wouldn't laugh and make dismissive comments about how many gang members come in. Yeah, there are some very insensitive like doctors and nurses who should not be in like healthcare profession at all, but like you're supposed to treat people without discrimination. Like, what even was she trying to say? Was she projecting a bad personal experience with a hospital, saying, oh, doctors in the inner city are just so jaded, or like, oh, this was like bad and Sammy is half Hispanic, so maybe they were being racist? I'm lost for words. So I don't even know what the bloody hell she was trying to like convey with this stupid thing. Number 84. If this hospital cares so little for its down on their luck patients, why would they make arrangements for their transport home? Like, yet again, totally contradictory thing in her books. Number 85. And why would Sammy's driver leave him on the freeway? Wow. Because he said his aunt lives nearby, a block away, and he'll walk the rest of the way. Ugh. And this is when he, almost gets hit by a bunch of cars on the freeway and finally hitches a ride with a trucker who turns out to be a PDF file and makes his escape at a gas station and steals the nonce's gun, and he's terribly injured, thinks about offing himself, and then the couple finally finds him under the bushes. Their dog discovers him. Oh, okay, sweetie, we don't know who you are at all, but we'll lovingly take you back to our trailer and nurse you back to health, and we'll loan you $50 that you never pay back because you forget where we live, or you don't know where we live, and then you'll just hitchhike back to mommy. Again, her stories make zero sense. They're just badly written. She needed serious crash courses for years of these courses and how to actually write properly. Number 86. She gets in yet another dig against divorce, surprise, surprise, with one of her pet phrases by saying parents divorce their kids. Oh boy. Because in Beatrice Sparks' world, only bad people would dare to commit the unspeakable evil of getting divorced for any reason, when they can't be sealed together as lord and lady of the god and goddess of their own precious little planet, when they go to Kolob and the celestial kingdom after they're, sealed for eternity and go to the other world. So this is yet another Mormon, idiosyncrasy of hers. Number 87, surprise, surprise. We can't learn to handle trauma before it enters our lives. Again, even if we learn coping strategies or redirection methods, for example, in the heat of a panic attack, that's no match against actually experiencing trauma as it happens. Each situation is going to be a little different. Maybe we'll be ill-equipped to handle it. Maybe our lives aren't going well, or maybe we'll be able to handle it somewhat better if everything is going well besides the trauma, or just if we feel down in our luck and this is just the straw that broke the camel's back, or just you can't predict how you're going to handle it, or I'll know before it happens to me. I'll just stop it in its tracks. Yeah, good luck with that one. Her smile and keep sweet crap is so contrary to human nature and how the brain works. Number 88. We can't magically put our emotions on hold as we logically think through how to cope with a depressing or traumatic event that just happened. Wishful thinking. It's not like flipping a light switch on and off at will. Like, was she like high on glue when she wrote this? Was she doing drugs herself? Like, what? Number 89. Someone who constantly uses show-off vocab and speaks in such goofy, pretentious purple prose isn't exactly the kind of guy I associate with gangs and street life. He'd be the nerd everyone makes fun of. And yeah, let's see some more like, stupid phrases like, oh, doesn't he sound like the dandiest dude in all of dudedom? Like, what is talking about, like, the principal? I'm going to be blab for hours talking about all these, like, if you're sure you've learned to expect, no one should ever be allowed to master except you. Oh, the gang thing is bad. Well, I used to sometimes get mad at a teacher, or ripped at my mommy, or bugged out of my brain by my sisters, but I never hated their guts or wanted evil black clouds to close in on them, or make them disappear, or any of the other feelings that seemed to come over me after it happened. It really did seem after I got black, they all got black too. No comment on what she was even trying to imply with that. Oh boy. And they did have their home address, and then there's a couple in some little funny name town in California. I would have returned their money with interest too if I hadn't lost their address. Talking about going home. What if they were bears and lions and tigers? Oh my! And the driver and other unrealistic things flooded through my mind. Then I heard something whimpering and saw the head of a tiny orange-colored poodle. At first he was apprehensive. Then he came over and gently licked my face. His tongue felt moist and sandpapery on my cheek, and I heard myself giggling. This was a happy day. A sunbeam and a little orange dog loved me, and maybe mommy. And it's so many like show-off vocab words. Like ants crawled over me, and some big black bugs began gnawing on my uncovered arms. My teeth chattered so loudly I knew the demon deviate would see the weeds rustling over me. Wow, so many stupid. Outside he was scary, but inside he was the kindest, most appreciative, loving, thoughtful creature possible. He never said a mean or rude thing to or about the aides who treated us like we were scum, or his sickness, or anything. I could feel his honest concern. No, they said one bullet grazed the bone in his thigh. Just so many like stupid, like pretentious ways of thinking like this. Then suddenly, and in one black whirlwind swoop, it was like the whole world came crashing down upon me, covering everything, maiming everything, and a dark sulfur cloud squeezed me out of my existence into an imprisoned unrealness. Oh, she loved putting ness on the end of words, of fermenting hostility and pain. My life became foreign to me. I was part of the unwashed, the unwanted, the hated, a troublesome alien, and I seemed to be forever cloning myself into more unacceptable, unworthy, unhappy me's, because the misery was too much for one young, stupid, helpless kid to bear. I know that seems crazy enough to have me locked in a rubber room and a loony bin. Okay, we'll get Sammy Humpty Dumpty back together again, maybe even better. We've got to do something soon. I can't stand this pain and confusion and fragmentation much longer. I feel like I'm two people, the good person I want to be and the bad person I am. Actually, I know this sounds completely out of orbit, but sometimes, in fact, more and more often now, I feel like maybe I'm many different people. He started crying softly. Lately, I've even started thinking of names for some of the evil entities within me. A nice job doing the whole satanic panic again. But moving on. Number 90. How convenient. Wow, that's a nice plot twist. Sammy's school got a new principal who sent all the gang members to an alternative school while he was away. Totally avoiding facing his old buddies and getting a violent jumping out. He didn't have to go through the difficult situation of telling them, dudes, I'm out. Okay, maybe they're gonna start bullying him, or just he's shunned at school. But nope, they're just totally out of sight, out of mind. Magical trope. Get rid of that awkward plot. Don't have to deal with that. She did not know how to develop any storylines. Number 91. This is wow. Why does Sammy feel the need to tell Dr. Fraud this new principal, Dr. D, is African American? Why does that detail even matter? It, kind of calls to mind the infamous, chapter 2 of the Babysitter's Club. If you're of, my age, or you just like the nostalgia from the 80s and the 90s, when they're info-dumpily describing what all the girls look like and how the club started. Oh, did you realize this? Jesse is black. Like, I'm not exaggerating. This was so made fun of in every single chapter 2 of the Babysitters Club after Jesse shows up. It's like, oh, by the way, Jesse's black. Like, wow, wow, you didn't waste any time dumping that on the page, like, without even, like, trying to establish anything through context. Seriously. Is Dr. Fraud racistly trying to imply it's more understandable he came from nothing and had a rough, crime-filled upbringing just because he's not white? Is she saying she thinks, like, all black people come from the hood and they have, like childhoods filled with, like, they see drive-by shootings all the time and, like, girls constantly having, like, children, like, child after child after child without getting married and stuff like this? Like, well, Mormonism has a really long, disturbing history, well-documented history with, like, racism, like, way beyond just the whole denying their so-called priesthood to black men until 1978. There's lots of, like, racist statements made by, like, Brigham Young in the 19th century, and the whole, like, creepy blood atonement doctrine, and saying if you're married outside of their holy, precious, white and delightsome race, you'll be cast into the lake of fire, and just stuff like that. Number 92, it is so irresponsible, ignorant, and dangerous to say depressed people bring it on themselves. How dare she? Number 93, the new principal's entire life story, like such an info dump there, also has nothing to do with depression and doesn't belong in a normal therapy session. Like, again, it's like she was trying to write an actual novel, but didn't know how to do it and just, oh, this is what you talk about in therapy. Like, I'm totally confused what exactly her purpose was with this whole entire book. Number 94, Dr. Fraud gives Sammy a picture of Jesus and asks him to draw big glasses, a mustache, frown, moles, and funny hair on it, which he, just as he had done on a picture of a blank face. He declines that as disrespectful, which Dr. Fraud uses as a jump-off point for driving home the golden rule. Like this, can you see these pictures? Like, so yeah, like was she saying this is totally normal for a therapist to give out religious pictures when it's not specifically like a Christian counseling service? Like, wow, like totally way to piss on the establishment clause, you like damn like a fraud. Like, seriously. I mean, I understand like drive home the golden rule, do unto others, but like you can do that without like religion. Just say like you'd like to be treated like the way you treat other people, or like treat other people like you would want yourself to be treated. Like, you should be respectful. That doesn't even have to be part of a religious thing. It's just like a basic, like a decent human thing. Unless her pretended counseling practice is supposed to be specifically Christian, that violates all kinds of laws. Like, you can't just drop religion into your psychology session totally unprompted. Like, the client, it's cool to bring it up. For example, I'm feeling a lot of like, guilt and shame about sex because I was brought up Mormon, or like a very like old school traditional Catholic, or like Protestant, or like anything like that. Like, for example, you're like you were raised like extremely religious fundamentalist, whatever, and that's kind of, you feel that's like messing you up as an adult. You don't know how to relate to people your age who were raised in a much less religious world and stuff like that. But she's just like dumping it right into the session. Like, this isn't church. This is a supposed psychology practice. Did you not like understand the establishment clause? Leave your religion out of it. And I'm not saying like totally cool if you're religious Christian, like, rock on, do whatever you like believe in yourself, but that just does not belong in like a psychology session unless it's a specifically Christian practice. I can't believe I even have to say this. Number 95. Why do we need an info-dumpy lecture about the chemical composition in Prozac and how it works? She could just like say, okay, Sammy, I pulled this out of the file cabinet. Here's some more information about it if you want to read it. Like, instead of, why do we need to do this? She did this so many times when giving like medical information, like Nancy, okay, self, as she calls her diary. Are you ready? Ready? Yeah, I'm going to copy word for word everything on the information, the handouts I got at the hospital about what exactly AIDS is, and these are all my drugs I'm taking and all the side effects. And when Kim copies out her handouts talking about this is what anorexia is, and these are some of the side effects, and these are some of the symptoms, and like who freaking does that when they're keeping a diary, unless they're specifically like trying for publication, or their own like their children or whatever, their family, or just for their own like reading back on it later because they like specifically want to document like an injury or a medical condition they're going through. But like regular, like just a regular journal, like who does that? Again, she did not know how real people journal. Number 96. How dare she say only a few people might need antidepressant drugs? and that they could easily overcome depression naturally with, cue the all caps, the positive power of positive thinking and sitting under bright lights. Like, how freaking dare you, you old fraud con artist. Number 97. How the hell many teen boys say "sue"? That makes me feel stupid just reading it. Hell, how many people, regardless of age or sex, actually draw out the word "so" like that? Like she was really trying to sound down with the kids. Number 98. What does Dr. Fraud define as minor depression? Like that can mean anything with her. She constantly demonstrates a total lack of knowledge about what actually constitutes any kind of real depression. Number 99. How dare she suggest mental illness can be prevented by doing a 12-week checklist of mental wellness questions, which she includes as an insert. Many mental health conditions are hardwired into the brain from birth and can't be easily nipped in the bud because of a weekly self-evaluation. Oh, yes, it takes up several pages. Right here, let me pull up the recording screen so I know it's showing up. I'm just reading off of my webpage, so just go over these and and continue checking them off, and when you reach the end, just erase and start all over again instead of giving her patience, multiple things to keep going over. But it's not really that simple at all. It's just really stupid. I am not critical. I'm appreciative. I can make good decisions. I do not feel helpless. I do not feel hopeless. I rub and respect myself. I rub and respect others. I have low self-esteem. I feel hopeless. I am impulsive. I want what I want now. I am obsessive. I give my control to whatever. I am loud, crude, and rude. What exactly is she defining as crude and rude? I worry about my health. I have suicidal impulses. I hate. I'm angry. I blame others. I'm unappreciative, indecisive, often feel inferior, guilty, unwellable. I do not respect myself. Feel hopeless, helpless, like I am a burden, negative, pessimistic. I can't trust people or things. I'm not motivated. I'm critical. You get the idea. She totally did not understand at all how actual mental health conditions and serious mental illnesses even manifest or work. If only you could just see it coming, then you wouldn't be depressed or have ADHD or any kind of dissociation or just depersonalization, derealization, or anything like that. How dare she pretend to be a psychologist? A damn weekly self-evaluation just can't do that if it's already hardwired into your brain from birth, and maybe it's not present your whole life. It's just something whatever triggers it along the way. But still, you cannot. The brain often does not work in concert with what you want it to do, because we don't understand how the brain fully works. And if a condition is hardwired into you from the time you were in utero, you can't really an evaluation checklist. That'll cure it. No, it won't. Number 100. Dr. Fraud chides Sammy for, in some irrational way, trying to rationalize that negatives used on yourself in italics don't count. Oh boy, more self-blame. Yeah, how dare anyone not smile and keep sweet 24/7. This book is making me so freaking angry. I cannot wait to be finished reading it. I'm only about halfway through, up to page 121 plus, skimming through the rest and reading reviews, and this is 239 pages, 240 plus the disclaimer. Lawyers made her include saying, oh, this isn't real depression, it's just situational, vague depression. You should go to a real doctor, not Dr. B, if you're really serious about curing that, and maybe you really should take some drugs. But this whole book makes me angry. The fact that she had a publishing contract for so many decades, it makes me angry. The fact that no one was pushing back on her in a position who could have stopped her, saying, okay, Beatrice, this isn't adding up. All these manuscripts sound the same. Can you explain that? What's this and what's all that? But no, she got away with her fraud until after her death. This makes me so freaking angry. Beatrice Sparks, you suck. I'm so glad you have been exposed as a shameless, disgusting fraud, charlatan, and Mormon propagandist. You were you were not going anywhere good. Your soul's journey after you passed from this life at the undeserved old age of 95. So look forward to a couple more videos about this book for me. I'm going to be ranting so much about it in those other videos as well. And thanks for watching all the way through to the end, and I will see you soon. Bye.